Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could please silence your electronic devices, that'd be greatly appreciated. Good afternoon, everyone. I call the Village of Massena Board of Trustees meeting for May 2nd, 2017 to order. Yay, it's May. Mr. Oswald is excused for work. Roll call, Mr. Carville.
Here.
Mr. Deshays.
Here.
Mr. LeBeer.
Here.
I'm here. Entertain a motion for the approval of minutes for January 17, 2017.
So moved.
Mr. LeBeer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Deshays. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports. Code enforcement. Economic Development Committee, Mr. LeBeer.
Not much. You have the item regarding moving the forward later on.
Fire Committee, Mr. Carville, Mr. LeBeer.
We did meet. Not a lot going on. They're doing a great job with training. Really impressed with the communication between the volunteers and the professionals. Some issues with T3, some control issues. They're looking at the repair, 1,300 to 1,500.
It's been taken care of. Haven't got a bill yet. And they also took care of a recall on our main engine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Another thing to kind of keep on our radar, with the sale of E30 completed, they'll be speccing out the skid unit. If you recall, that was kind of the thought process when we authorized the surplus truck to be gone, that we're going to use the proceeds to get a skid unit that could be very much utilized by the group, so they're currently looking to spec that out.
Is that complicated because of the end of the budget year by May 30th? Should we do something at the next board meeting?
Well, the sale of the truck comes in as, and is received as sale of equipment in the 100 fund. So, figuring about it a little bit, about that expense would come in the next budget.
Okay. Okay. Personnel Committee, Mr. Carville, Mr. Deshays.
We met last week with the chief, and we had some interviews. That's it. We're going to.
Police Committee, Mr. Carville, Mr. Deshays.
There's an item for later on the agenda.
Chief, anything?
No, sir.
Recreation Commission, Mr. Deshays.
We haven't met, we'll meet next Tuesday.
Street Committee, Mr. LeBeer.
Nothing.
Water and Sewer Committee, Mr. LeBeer. Storm drains were full last night, to say the least.
Amen.
Initial public comment period. As always, we ask you to please stand and state your name for the record. Initial public comment period. Seeing none, we have no old business. Moving to new business. Proposed resolution, advance approval of claims during fiscal year 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Carville, second by Mr. Deshays. Discussion? Resolution poll individually. Mr. Carville?
Aye.
Mr. Deshays?
Aye.
Mr. LeBeer?
Aye.
Resolution carries. Proposed resolution, mileage allowance during fiscal year 2017-2018.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Deshays, second by Mr. Carville. Discussion?
Based on state and federal, I take it?
Yes. You actually use the state, I believe, right?
Okay.
He's good.
What it says in your document.
Doesn't say it.
I don't know it off the top of my head.
Further discussion? Resolution poll individually. Mr. Carville?
Aye.
Mr. Deshays? Mr. LeBeer?
Aye.
Resolution carries. Proposed resolution, attendance at schools and conferences during fiscal year 2017-2018.
So moved.
Mr. LeBeer, second by Mr. Deshays. Discussion? Resolution, poll individually. Mr. Carville?
Aye.
Mr. Deshays?
Aye.
Mr. LeBeer?
Aye.
Resolution carries. Proposed resolution, procurement policy during fiscal year 2017-2018.
So moved.
Mr. LeBeer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carville. Discussion? Resolution poll individually, Mr. Carvel. Mr. Deshaies.
Aye.
Mr. Lemire. Resolution carries. Proposed resolution, authorized telecommunications service agreement with Slick for data networking services.
So moved.
Mr. Deshaies, second by Mr. Carvel. Discussion? Resolution poll individually, Mr. Carvel. Mr. Deshaies.
Aye.
Mr. Lemire.
Aye.
Resolution carries. Appointment, Marissa Brock, Police Department, Civilian Dispatcher. Chief?
Yeah, last week we did several interviews. We also conducted background investigations, and I'd recommend to the Board of Trustees that we appoint Marissa Brock. But one stipulation with it, if I could ask, would be that I would like her start date to be, her permanent start date to be May 15th this year, but be able to work part-time immediately for training purposes during her 2-week notice to her current job. The reason I ask of that is our current employee who's retiring is going on vacation May 17th, and that vacation is going to carry right into her retirement. So I would like some time for this current dispatcher to be able to start and train with her, so when she's moving out, that she can walk right into her position. So it'll alleviate any overtime issues.
I'm good with that, thinking.
So the start date should actually be when she starts work, even though it would be on a part-time basis until going full-time?
The effective date would be her first day of work. I don't believe it matters that she would be on a full-time basis at the beginning.
Okay.
But we can check with the county to make sure. I don't believe it matters.
So we would amend the request to be effective immediately, and then whenever she
Okay.
starts would be the effective date.
Okay.
So move as amended.
Mr. Lemire? Second by Mr. Carvel. Discussion?
Yes, this address on here is Lisbon, New York. Is she gonna move to Massena?
Currently, right now, no.
We had another application for that job too, didn't
That lived in the village?
we? Yeah.
No.
And neither one of them lived in the village?
Every single interview that we had was not in the village.
It's civil service, so you have to take the top 3 on the list.
Okay, okay. I agree with it. Okay, no problem.
To clarify, this is a competitive civil service position. There was not a village list, so the county list was asked for.
Okay, thank you. I agree.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Authorization to advertise for bids, water treatment plant materials. Mr. Fayad.
Yeah, this is an annual procurement of chemicals that we use for our raw water, for the treatment of raw water, I guess, from the St. Lawrence into the water treatment plant. So it's an annual thing. It's for diatomaceous earth, which is a filter aid, and then also for some chlorine and fluoride.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lemire, second by Mr. Deshaies. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
It was much more entertaining last year when the mayor had to say the names of those.
Thanks for reminding me.
Oh, you're a guy, don't you?
Discussion, parking lot agreement, the former Topacana Mall, allotments in the block back there. This is the parking lot that's behind the fire hall, between the fire hall, I should say, in that block. We sent letters out to the owners of the facilities to see if there was any changes requested. We've not heard anything back at this point.
And I asked them to reply by May 10th.
So they have till May 10th to reply. Be on the next agenda, but we wanted to give you a heads up on it if you want to look over it. If you have any issues or concerns, in the meantime, if you want to contact me, or at the next meeting, we'll be discussing it. We'd like to authorize it at the next meeting, so if you have any issues, it'd be good if we could clear those up. Voucher warrants.
I move that the vouchers signed by trustee Carvel and myself be approved.
Second by Mr. Carvel. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Monthly reports, we didn't have any. Communications, I have 3. The Moving Massena Forward Community Coalition presentation is tomorrow night at 6:30. So this is about Not quite a year and a half of work by a committee of about 11 or 12 people, several stakeholder meetings. So we'll be releasing some information to the public tomorrow at 6:30 in this room. I attended this afternoon, so did Trustee Shays, the ribbon cutting for the Eugene L. Nicandry Nature Center at Robert Moses State Park. It is an incredibly, it's beautiful. It's a great facility. I can't wait for that to be open to the public so people can visit it. It was a really great honor that Eugene Nicandry, his name is on the building, so obviously a longtime Massena resident, county court judge, and still a NYPA trustee, so pretty cool. And Trustee DeShays and I also attended the ribbon cutting for the airport today for OT care. So they're flying 3 flights a day, 2 to Albany and 1 to Baltimore. So it was a pretty good crowd too. Bobby was full.
The food was good, and I won the trip.
He did. He did.
He won the trip? He's a
Not the airplane, just the trip.
servant, isn't he, of the people? Is he able to take that?
It actually falls below, the cost falls below the gift policy.
It's a great selling point for the airport.
I just thought I'd check.
Doris, I went to school with you, now be nice.
I am nice, I
Okay,
just thought
all right.
I'd check.
It's a
You're
good
a
question
public
though.
servant.
That's a great question. Closing public comment period? Yes, ma'am.
How much are we paying for that parking lot? Or are we paying at all?
Do we actually pay?
I think it's $1.
$1.
It's
It's $1.
That's good.
Further public comment? Seeing none, I need an executive session to talk about a personnel matter. I do not expect that we would take action.
Can you be more specific about the personnel matter, please?
It's regarding a new position.
Appointment of an
It's not
employee?
regarding the appointment, it's regarding the creation of a new position.
I don't think that's executive session material, sir.
Incorrect.
It doesn't, creation of a new position is not in the 8 reasons for executive session here. I have a copy of the law.
Let me be more specific for you. Regarding matters leading to the appointment of a personnel position.
So you're talking about the specific person that's going to be appointed to the position, or you're talking about creating a position?
We're talking about the particular specifics regarding the job duties and the person.
So the job duties would be discussed in open session, but the person would be executive session. Job duties are not on this list.
Now we're comparing the job duties to the person.
How so? I don't understand what that means, when you say you're comparing the job
I'm
duties.
not gonna go
to the
into more
person.
specifics about an executive matter.
Right, but
I understand your question.
I don't know, just the way you're saying, part of that seems like it fits into this, but part of it doesn't. I mean, how am I gonna stop you anyways, but.
Hear your concerns.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. LeBeer. Second by Mr. Carl. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.